This is Inside Indiana Business Radio for the afternoon of Wednesday, November 8th, 2023. I'm Kate Sharon. What should Elkhart and St. Joseph counties look like in the next 5 to 10 years? A group of local officials, not-for-profit representatives, and other business leaders have set out to answer that question this month with a series of workshops exploring regional priorities for the next round of Indiana Ready funding. The program, which launched in 2021, infused local communities across the state with $500 million of support for projects that promote investments in infrastructure, job growth, and quality of life. For the South Bend Elkhart region, which was awarded $50 million through the program last year, that means funding for new tourism attractions, housing, parks, and healthcare expansions. South Bend Elkhart Regional Partnership CEO Bethany Hartley.
It's right, just as we're sitting here in our original Regional Cities project at the Aquatic Center in Elkhart, this is an amenity that didn't exist but not for, right? And that's what Ready 1.0 did as well. So we're excited for the opportunity for that to happen again in 2.0.
And now, after state lawmakers directed another $50 million for a second round of Ready funding, regional leaders are beginning to solicit interest for new investments. Breeze Airways is en route to the Evansville Regional Airport, the agency announced Wednesday, and passengers can catch direct flights to Orlando starting in late February. The airport lost service to and from Chicago and Detroit in early 2022, but local leaders told Inside Indiana Business earlier this year they foresaw service returning to southern Indiana. Those destinations are listed on the airport's website as temporarily paused. The airline will host 2 weekly direct flights to Orlando International Airport, a different airport than Allegiant's current service to Orlando Stanford. The new service means global travel is more attainable, something lost especially when Chicago ties were upended. Indiana University trustees are scheduled Friday to consider a proposal to spin a portion of the Kinsey Institute out of the university structure and turn it into a nonprofit. The potential move is scheduled to be considered at a trustee meeting in Indianapolis and comes after state lawmakers earlier this year banned state funding from going to the often scrutinized sexual research entity. Under the proposal, some of the Institute's administrative and operating functions would be transferred to a not-for-profit, but its collections and archives would remain under university ownership. 45 faculty and staff members, largely those who work in or with Kinsey, signed a November 1st letter asking the board to table discussions until the university investigated concerns about potential, quote, irreparable harm to the Institute and answered several questions about what the not-for-profit structure and the Institute's relationship with the university would look like. From the number one source for Indiana business news, this is Inside Indiana Business Radio.
Get ready, Indianapolis. IBJ Media, Inside Indiana Business, and the Indiana Economic Development Corporation invite you to the annual Engage Central Indiana event. It's presented by CareSource, Indiana University, and Old National Bank. Wednesday, December 6th at the JW Marriott. We'll be diving into talent, education, and other issues shaping the Central Indiana economy. More at ibj.com/engage.
The Peyton Manning Children's Hospital at Ascension St. Vincent recently achieved the highest designation of trauma care for children after receiving a Level 1 Pediatric Trauma Center designation from the American College of Surgeons. The Indianapolis Hospital is the only center in the state to hold this designation for all ages. A news release states hospitals with this bar have fewer cases of patient complications, shorter stays, and less risk of a transfer. Ascension St. Vincent received its label in 2015. The Children's Hospital was also designated as a Level 1 Children's Surgery Center last year. Swiss automation company Endress & Hauser broke ground this week on a $50.9 million expansion of its U.S. headquarters in Greenwood. The 106,000 square foot addition will house commercial office and light industry space for the company's projects, human resources, and legal departments. It will also feature a design and innovation studio with 2,500 square feet dedicated to STEM activities for students in grades K through 8. The studio will also feature a smart classroom, a makerspace, and other industry-quality technology with 3D printing, robotics, and other engineering tools available to high schoolers. Indiana voters across the state showed support for giving their school districts the green light to use millions of dollars in property tax revenue to hire and retain teachers and fund programs and transportation. Unofficial election results late Tuesday showed voters largely in support of property tax referendums in 7 of the 11 districts that placed one on the ballot. Fort Wayne schools, along with 3 school districts in Hamilton County, all saw strong support throughout the evening for their referendums. Property tax referendums have long been a cornerstone of school funding in the state, but local revenue is especially important now as the federal emergency funding that has supported schools throughout COVID begins to sunset. Due to a change in state law this year, certain districts like the school city of Hammond will also need to share any property tax revenue with charter schools. Democratic Mayor Joe Hogsett beat back his best-funded Republican challenger ever in businessman Jefferson Shreve, winning a third term Tuesday in what was the most expensive mayoral race in Indianapolis history. Republican Sue Finkman will be Carmel's first new mayor in 28 years after defeating Democrat Miles Nelson in Tuesday's election. Finkman won nearly 57% of the vote. Sports journalist Bill Benner is this week's guest on the Business and Beyond podcast with Gary Dick, presented by PNC, a weekly conversation with high-profile Hoosiers in business, sports, entertainment, and beyond. Available now from your favorite podcast provider. I'm Kate Sharon for Inside Indiana Business, Radio on Demand.